Okay, it's Wednesday, July the 25th, and I'm done with my painting session for today. And let me bring this a little bit closer so you can see that. Hopefully that works. I'm done, and I just could not be more pleased. As I was painting this, I was sort of discouraged, I think. I couldn't quite see how it was going to come together, but this morning I decided to just soldier on and get done with it. And the more I did, the happier I became. So there's just a couple things I want to point out. The first one is that this is another composition from Lake Hogan, the Wrinkle Cove area, and I've done, I think, 2 or 3 now of that. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 3 of that area in particular, and I've done one in spring, and now I've done one in summer, and I've done one in winter. And you know, Lake Hogan isn't anything special, but there's a lot of material there, so I'm always happy when I can make one of those paintings work. The second thing is that I'm using a limited palette again, so that's the yellow ochre, the burnt sienna, and the blue ultramarine. And I have this theory, and let me explain. So I'm using the limited palette. You know, obviously I want to mix my greens, mix my oranges and browns and things like that from just 3 primaries. But I'm using it because I think the colors are very restrained. They're just not as saturated as their other counterparts. So the burnt sienna is not as saturated and intense as, say, a cadmium red. And the yellow ochre is got a lower saturation than, say, cadmium yellow, medium, or light, which is what I normally use. So because the colors are less saturated, their chroma is lower, I guess. They make greens, and they make purples, and they make oranges and browns, all manner of grays, and they're just more restrained. They're more subtle, and you have to depend more on contrast and color placement. So at the end, though, of the painting, you get this, I think, a more naturalistic look, and that's really what I'm after. I want a lot of contrast, but I also want colors of what I'm seeing right now during the summertime. So that's my deal on that. So I'm really happy with it. And one of the things I think makes it work is that because you're mixing a yellow, say, with the blue and a red, you're essentially mixing that yellow with its opposite, which is purple. So I think that's why the resulting mixes end up being a little bit more muted, because you're just adjusting those colors, but in reality you're going to end up having 2 opposite colors. So if you have a blue and you're mixing in a yellow and a red to get more of a greenish color, you're actually mixing in an orange, which is blue's opposite, and you end up getting more of a muted blue. If you wanted just like a straight green, like a bright, brilliant green, you would just mix the yellow and the blue together, and that's where you would get a clearer green. Anyway, so that's what I think is happening with this particular method, and I'm really, really happy with it. So I'm all done. As I said, I'm happy with how the shadows turned out, the pattern here. I'm happy with these trees. I'm going to show a picture on the blog, but I think I mentioned, or I may have mentioned, that the trees have sort of a downward motion. They're eucalyptus trees. I'm used to oak trees, which are just sort of static with a more rounded form. These have more of a round form, but they're more of a downward motion because of the leaves. And the bark was exciting. The bark has a lot of different colors in it, such as yellows and reds, some blues and grays, so I was glad to include that. So I'm all done, and I'm going to move on to the next thing, and I'll show a photo on the blog, but that's it for today.